As Gerald said, my name is Parker Jones. I'm a second generation strawberry grower. We've, my dad's been growing strawberries for, let's see, 46 years at this point. So he's very passionate and about it and has handed it down to me. One quick question that I have for you guys is, I know I see a couple faces that I'm used to, but is everyone in here students? Pretty much, yeah. All right. And like you said, I said earlier, I wanted to be engaging. So stop me with any question that you guys might have. All right. But hopefully today we will have a productive conversation. I don't want to just be up here talking to you guys. I was in school at one point and I fell asleep a lot. So, but let me bring you into my world just a little bit. And this is a pretty good definition of myself and come today. So if you could, let's start. So do me a favor and let's close your eyes. I'm going to look at all of you. All right. So with your eyes closed for a moment, imagine a field at dawn. The mist of the fog curling off the strawberry beds, the rows. The first strawberries glowing red in the moonlight as the sunrise starts to come across the valley floor, inch by inch, bringing more fruit into view with every second that passes. That's how I start my mornings. Years ago, I had a field that was struggling. Weeds, rotted fruit, mites taking over the field, soil disease taking down plants. It was a fight that I'll never forget. And I tried something that I absolutely hate doing. At the time I did. But I called my dad and I asked for advice. And he told me one of the simplest solutions to my problem. He said, have you tried putting out sprinklers? Now, remember, we're in the middle of the season, right? I pulled my sprinklers out 3 months ago. I said, no, just put them back in the field and run some water through the sprinklers. So what is it going to do? So we need to drive the water straight into the crown of the plant, revive it. Water will basically give it CPR. And it'll help solve your mite problem. What I didn't know at the time is that persimmons only thrive under a specific percentage of humidity out in the field, right? Which is why we see persimmon activity kind of really thrive in those colder, foggier, humid times of the year. So we did. I tried it out on 5 acres. Within 2 weeks, the dead plants didn't come back to life, but they started to sprout new leaves. The plants that were still alive turned greener. My mite population, my 2-spot mite population went down. My persimmon started to thrive. We put up a wind fence to block the wind. Everything that we did was the simplest solution that I hadn't thought about. Because in my mind, it was a complicated situation. And what my dad helped me realize that day is that sorry, but what he helped me realize is that this is a dance. Organic farming is a dance between you and Mother Nature. And you could say that anything in nature is going to be complicated, right? Global warming, is it real? Is it not? I stand before you. I will tell you right now, global warming is a true, real thing. The average rainfall in Santa Maria is 12 inches annually. If I'm remembering correctly, somewhere between 12 and 14 inches. Last year was 27. The year prior, 38. My first year in Santa Maria, 17 years ago, we got a storm system that came off the coast of China that when it was there in China, it was a typhoon. Its way across the Pacific, hits California. In a single 24 hours, we got 8 inches of rain in Santa Maria alone, just 8 inches. I've seen devastation. I've seen what weather can do. And it can literally, it has. It will continue to get worse, but it has wiped out crops. Conventional, organic, doesn't matter. Mother Nature doesn't care, right? So what we always try to do is to be in that dance with it and work with Mother Nature and not against it. Have you ever tried paddling upstream? Hard to do. You can do it. You can burn 10,000 calories and sweat and probably pass out, but eventually you'll get there. But that's organic farming. Never easy. And I know through experience and through talks like this, schools like this, it will become easier. And we will be able to fix what we've broke. Cal Poly teaches learn by doing. And every day, that's what I do. So I'm here to share the joy, the pitfalls, and the failures. And not necessarily to pull you from your path, but to invite you into mine. So if you would permit me, let's take that walk. So how did I get here? I knew since I was a kid, this is what I wanted to do. Once I was old enough to realize, look at my dad, and truly see the peace that the field, the strawberry farm, the ranch, the operation, the production, everything that has to do with strawberry farming. Doesn't matter if it's conventional or organic. We've done both. But the peace that it brought him, as soon as I saw that and was able to realize that it was true peace that I saw in my father, I knew this is what I wanted to do. It was a story that I wanted to be a part of. It was a story that I wanted to pass down onto my kids. And truly, it's turned into my generation and the next generation. Now, one of the big things that I want to pass down to you guys today and to give you hope is today in the state of California that produces over 80% of the nation's strawberry fruit for consumers that is consumed every day. It's 360 farming entities in the state of California. The average age of the farmer is 62, maybe 63. He's going to farm in 5 years or in 10. Right? There's a lot of you here that are going into plant sciences, research, soil sciences. I mean, there's so many departments here, right? This is why I do actually love this school. It's because there's so many different opportunities, so many classes, departments. You have your pick of choice, even though maybe you're not able to get into your first choice, but there's a second and a third and a fourth, right? But what I think that a lot of people tend to forget is without a farmer, is their use for a pest control advisor, their use for a researcher. We could argue and debate this all day, right? I'll probably lose. Yeah, we'll not doubt that, right? But without someone that is there to grow the crop, whatever job it may be, it could be a harvester, it could be an irrigator, a truck driver, tractor driver, or someone like myself. There is no food that will be produced for the American population in America. Plain and simple. Let me ask you a question, and please answer it. Do you think it's important that your food production or anything that you will eat on a daily basis, vegetables, wine, table grapes, almonds, pistachios, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, you think it's important that it's grown here in America? Yeah? Why? All right. Anyone else? Exactly. So, what I've found out, and it's been something that I've personally been working on the last 2 years. So, back in 2023, there was a hepatitis A outbreak in fresh strawberries. It's about the first week of June. And the FDA came out and said, don't eat strawberries tainted with Hep A, throw them away. They didn't say where it came from. And I believe they actually said it was organic. That Monday, we started off with an $18 a box market. By that Friday, it was $6. Organic. which usually drives a 60% premium above conventional strawberries. Now, the conventional market went to zero. I actually believe it was like $0 to $4, $0 to $6. Now, how can a retailer pay nothing and yet sell it for $5 a clamshell in the store? Did anyone say sorry? You think the FDA said sorry? They took, I'm told, 7 to 10 days to correct themselves, but the damage was done. Now, me being curious, did the math. In 4 weeks, that one letter from the FDA to the public cost my industry over $60 million in revenue. That year was the year that we first started to see farmers go bankrupt, out of business. We've lost 6 strawberry farming entities just in Santa Maria in the last 2 years. That is what we need to fix. Now, the outbreak didn't stop there, though. Through traceability and food safety regulations, we figured out who produced it, where it came from. It came from Baja, California, through a small Mexican shipper, right, from Mexico. And they were exporting fruit into the US with Hep A. Now, you would think that that field would be stopped and turned over, dissed out, right? It wasn't. They kept harvesting, not for fresh production though, for frozen. So that fruit got processed into juice, frozen goods, whole, diced, smashed, cubed, however the retailer or the brand wanted it. After the fresh recall was done, they had over 12.5 more recalls spanning a year and a half after the initial fresh recall. So in my meetings with the USDA and the FDA, I found out that we cannot, or they cannot, as the FDA, enforce any food safety laws or regulations on anything produced outside of America. Why is that? Why are we accepting fruit, consumable products that our nation eats every single day without being checked? Me personally, here in California, in the US, I go through about 5 audits a year. It's getting to the point where the retailers want their own audits. We want to make sure you treat your people well, right? And that's one thing that my dad has instilled into me, and we truly believe in treating the people like they should be treated, like anyone should be treated. Doesn't matter your race or ethnicity or your religious beliefs. I could care less. We're all human. My answer to the FDA, which I then was kicked off the call, was, well, I know you have a big budget. I know you have the personnel. You're able to send people across the border and do your own food safety audit, your own FDA food safety audit. Then, if that farm or that ranch does not pass your audit, then they cannot ship fruit to America. So the last thing that I need, that anyone needs, is to get sick whether if it's just a stomach ache or they die. Because in one of the cases, a kid did die. He bought the fruit from a high school football fundraiser in North Carolina. Or his parents did, fed it to their kid, right? Because strawberries are healthy, fruits and vegetables, healthy, but not when they're unregulated or untested, when we cannot control it. So when it comes to organic farming, that is one of the things that we are constantly looking at is, are we producing and are we harvesting this fruit in the best food safe way or food security way possible? You go out to my ranch, you will not see a single harvester picking strawberries with their bare hands. They will all be wearing powder-free natural gloves. And that's one thing I preach to our retailers, is the fact that when you buy my fruit, it has never been touched physically by a human hand. Skin to fruit never happens. You can trace back my fruit to a ranch and to its block. We're not there yet to where it's like at that, row 22. It will eventually get there. Is it my favorite thing to do? No. But I do believe in food security. I do not want anything that comes off my property to harm or make anyone ill. But in organic farming, we have to look at everything from a simplistic standpoint. I don't have chemicals that are derived from petroleum or man-made in a lab. When I first started farming, the only fertilizer that was available was bat guano. That came out of a bat cave out of Chile. Now, then it went to fish. And then we found out, both bat guano and fish are high in salts. What do salts do to plants? They burn them, right? There's a reaction to every reaction. Now, today, we're using fertilizers that are mainly based off of plant proteins, a lot of soy. It works so good. It works really well. But we're constantly trying to evolve, right? We stop evolving is the day that we die. So what's next? What's the next big thing? That's what you guys are here for. I hope that someone in this room can finally find a cure and how to eradicate macrophomina. Because in the last 6 years, I've watched 3 acres of known macrophomina on my 8 square mile ranch go to 122. And I keep asking myself, why is it? Macrophomina is a soil-borne disease that will kill a strawberry plant very quick from the bottom to the top. Just suck it down, dry it out. Now, how does it actually do that? I have no clue. I hope there's a plant science or soil disease major here that could tell me exactly how it chemically does that, right? But what I have found on recent studies, and actually prepping for this more than anything, rice bran is a aid in spreading soil disease because of the nitrogen content, which is exactly why I put 5 tons an acre out on every crop as a pre-plant fertilizer. I do not use it to go anaerobic into soil disinfect, mainly because the fact that to have rice bran or ASD go anaerobic, you have to put on something like 30 plus hours of irrigation through the drip. And when I'd say probably 98% of my ranch is sandy loam soil, what do you think is going to happen to an 18-inch tall bed that's 64 inches wide, center furrow to furrow, made out of sand? You ever build a sand castle on the beach and then the water comes and washes it away? It's exactly what's going to happen. I've seen it happen. But it's a good source of nitrogen. And before the rice bran, we were trying to use a typical pelleted slow release fertilizer. Organically, for anything to really have a benefit, you're going to want to put out at the very minimum 1,000 pounds an acre. With all the technology in the world that's available to us, with GPS tractors and Raven systems, rate controllers, you can't get the spindles to spin fast enough to be able to put out 1,000 pounds an acre. It doesn't matter how slow you drive or how fast you go with the spindle, it just doesn't do it. In 17 years, and probably honestly the last 10 years trying to do it, it's never happened. So broadcasting is the only way to get really real weight out into the field. So what's that solution look like? Right? If rice bran is helping the spread of soil-borne diseases and help aid it and feed it, what's next? What can I do? We were talking about biochar earlier. That has to be one of the most simplistic things that I've ever read about. Does anyone know what biochar is? Yeah, how simple is that, right? Got a forest fire, give me that ash and let's throw it out here. Shoot, we just had how many thousands of acres of land burn up this year? It's Mother Nature. We're dancing together, right? I'll be honest with you guys. The biggest flack that I've been getting from friends in my industry is that you got to look at compost. Why don't you use compost? Because I don't trust compost. If it's not cooked right, all it's going to do is bring me more soil disease that I don't already have and more weeds. And as an organic farmer, I'm not fumigating. I'm not using KPAM, BAPAM, trichlor 80, PIC 60, anything that could help suppress the weeds. I'm not doing it. So for me to get rid of my weeds in the field, I have to use human hands. That's going to cost me money. Right? We're talking about a weeding bill on average for what we budget for. It's around $3,000 an acre. Between the two different seasons, we'll be farming this year 500 acres of strawberries. 250 of them are in the ground currently, being harvested. Another 250 are being planted. We just got done with our first 10-acre plant 2 weeks ago, and we will not stop planting until July. But the first, couple plantings is more just like a trial, right? So our company is one of the only companies in the state that produces strawberries year round. 12 months a year, 365 days, we never stop, except for Sundays. And now Saturdays, because we went to a 40-hour work week. And even with the typically 60% premium over conventional fruit, overtime does not pay the bills. It's hard to justify overtime in a strawberry field. I would argue in any industry and ag.
So you're telling us a lot of the things that are difficult about like farming strawberries organically. You've got weed control that's difficult, you've got disease control that's difficult, you've got fertilizer that's difficult. What's the incentive for you, or for anybody for that matter, to farm organically versus conventionally? You did both, right?
Yep.
You've done conventional and organic, but now you're 100% organic?
100% organic, and it's harder. I'm not,
Harder?
yeah, or no, yeah, organic is harder and it's more expensive. Patience, instant gratification, and I think it's something that you have to pay attention to all the time. There, like our production, there's no off days. There's also no off days on protecting your field. You know, not necessarily because in a conventional setting, if you look at just let's take a miticide, right? Now, I know miticides aren't perfect. They don't. It's not a one spray and you're done, but they are stronger. They are more potent than any organic miticide. Any organic insecticide, let's put it this way, is going to be oil based. And we're having a chat earlier to put it into simple terms. If you were to work on your tan, you're putting on your tanning lotion, go outside, it's foggy, it's 60 degrees. You're going to get a good tan? Probably not. But if it's sunny and it's 80, you'll get an extra shade. You know? It's the same thing with any oil-based insecticide. You need the heat units to be out there. Because anything oil is just going to burn the insect, hopefully to death. Peace of mind that hopefully by the time I'm done, I'm leaving the plot of land that I farm better off than I found it. I'm not putting any fumigants into the soil. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just knowing that what I do through cover crops, not monocropping, not fumigating, even though it would make my life a little easier with soil diseases, that we are leaving it better for the next generation to come and farm it after I'm done with it. And the investment's not a bad one. It's a risky one, but it's not a bad one. A little bit more consistent, but everything's cyclical. You do?
On average, it's a different price, conventional and organic.
It's at least 50%. Yeah. Yeah. But ask me how many vacations I take. 0. Right? Yeah. No, I mean, the peace of mind is more of a kind of like a warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, like, why do you teach? Is it for the money? There you go. But I mean, why are you guys in this class? Besides an easy A, knowing that if you show up to 1 of 5, you got a 20% chance of getting an A, right? So hey, you're a fifth of the way there. It's going to bump up that GPA, right?
That's the reason you're here. hope you're here, you're in college. Because you want to learn, right? And you enjoy a subject like this, like what are equipment issues, and hearing from people like Parker, who every day is in the trenches dealing with production issues. So I think hopefully that is a driver for you. UVA, good VA, and but if you're here to learn, there'll be a lot of things I think that will ring in your ears for years after this spot. Because people we talk, we listen to people who really have something very important to share, and so I I I enjoy these talks probably more than the students because I get to hear from people that I also want to learn from. So, an example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my crop rotation is mainly derived of barley. I'll grow it myself. Um, Now, one of the things with like to keep our organic certification through the CCOF is everything needs to be, you know, obviously organic, right? Unless you get a letter from your supplier saying that there is no organic material and here's the exception, right? So I honestly hate turning in those letters to the CCOF when I know that there's a solution to the problem. That solution was, well, what if I just run a combine, harvest my own seed, have it cleaned, and then bring it back for next year's production? Well, then I had to go find I had to go find a combine. But guess what? I found the one combine in Lombok. It may be 40 years old, but guess what? It still works. So now it's, I actually take a lot of pride in it too. Like, you ask me how my barley crop's going this year, it is awesome. It's amazing. It's my favorite part of the ranch to go drive by because it's just continuously green. It's always growing. We've only had 6 inches of rain. You would think that with 27 inches of rain last year, I would have had an amazing barley crop. Because I keep track of the yield every year, I know what it was. And pardon, well, I'm being recorded, so I won't use that language, but it was not good, right? It was about a ton an acre. Where when I first started this journey on dry farming barley, I was told a good organic yield would be 3 tons an acre. I have yet to achieve it. I bet you anything this year I will get it. Hopefully more. Why is it better though? I realized that one, barley doesn't like sandy soil, which is the majority of our ranch. It's all sandy loam. So if it doesn't like the soil type that I'm putting it into, I'm going to have to fertilize it. But I can't fertilize it when I'm dry farming it. So I got to come up with a solution to that problem. How do I fertilize it? So you know what I'll do? I'll mix snap peas in with the barley seed. Let's just see what happens. Guess what? That nitrogen fixing crop is doing exactly that. To the point where my barley this time last year is 2 feet shorter. The amount of growth and what's crazy, it's the peas are starting to go up the barley stalk and searching for light to keep producing more nitrogen in the soil. It's like I finally found the rhythm to that dance.
Was it a fall strawberry crop and then finish in July, August, and then you go right into fall, and then.
So if I'm, so the question, like, if I plant a field in the fall, that field will stay in production until the following fall. If it's a day neutral variety. So does anyone know the difference between day neutral and short day varieties in the strawberry plant?
Some students.
Do we have some plant? Yeah. So short day strawberry variety only needs like 6 to 8 hours, probably 8 hours of sunlight to be produceful. A day neutral is going to be 12 plus, 10 plus, something like that, I believe. Right? 10, 12. Yeah. Yeah. But in the wintertime, you want your short day. We don't have that much sunlight, right? I think right now we're barely hitting 14 hours of sunlight. Not too long ago, like 2, 3 weeks ago, it was the first time I saw 12 hours. Actually, it was 11 hours and 59 seconds of sunlight. Or, yeah, 11 hours, 59 minutes. To the point where I went to my daughter and said, look, we're almost at 12. But yeah, so for early production, you want your short day varieties. We're going to start harvesting those typically Valentine's Day week. This year, without the rain, we're 6 weeks ahead of production. So we've like, usually with the rain in a normal winter, we will get a little bit of a break, but this year, not so much. The day neutrals, those will start coming into production. Actually, we started scratching the surface on production about 2, 3 weeks ago. And those are climbing up fast. And those will have a peak production around late June. Mid to late June will be in our peak production, and out of that peak production in July. July, really, our numbers start to drop. But short day varieties, they will start peaking first week of May this year. About 500 trays an acre, and I'll estimate somewhere between 650 to 680 trays an acre organically. In a conventional setting with Fronteris, which is the main short day variety, there's new ones out there like the BGI 3169. It's a pretty nice variety. I like it. And there's other new varieties coming from the UC system and proprietary breeding ventures and programs. They're all pretty good. I mean, honestly, every short day that I've seen that's either out or coming out down the pipeline look really good. All getting good on production and fusarium resistant. And that is where I like to place, where I know where I have macrophomina, because the soil disease that is most prominent on my property, on our ranch, is macrophomina. Like I said, 122 acres. But for macrophomina to actually activate and start killing plants, the soil temperatures need to rise above 80 degrees. So short day production, it'll peak and then it'll be done. We keep that plant in the long days of summer, July, getting 14 hours of daylight, 15 hours of daylight. They'll just go into they'll just grow into big bushes, more foliage than anything. So it's okay to disc that out. Take it, mow it down, flip it out, put a cover crop on it, and wait for next year. So it's, again, you're like kind of finding that balance between Mother Nature and the farm.
Comment. You mentioned a lot about variety, and varieties are extremely important in strawberry. Paris, short days, like the neutral varieties, the varieties that people grow is incredibly important. And there's a lot of competing breeding programs out there.
Mm-hmm.
University of California is the #1 breeding program in the world. But now we have a lot of competition. We have Driscoll's, of their own proprietary varieties. We have Plant Sciences, Amasa, Good Farm, and there are others. So it's a very competitive space right now, where breeding programs are designed to all produce new varieties that work better in some way. They might be resistant to disease, they might have the early production, they might have resistance to a pest or mite, they might out yield, they might have better flavor. These are all objectives of the breeding programs. And we never have the perfect variety. We're always looking for new ones. And so every year, there will be probably another 6 to 8 new varieties out there for people to choose from. So it's very dynamic. It doesn't stay the same for any length of time. It's very rare to have a variety like, right now, Monterey is the #1 grown variety in California. And it has been that way for about 10 years or more.
Yeah.
And that's rare. A lot of varieties never see the light of day or they're dead on arrival. You try them out, they don't work that well, they never get adopted. So breeding programs are kind of like that. They'll push out a lot of varieties and then maybe 1 or 2 to get a real success with.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of compare it to like bands. A band will have 1 hit song on an album, 10 or 12 songs, have 1 or 2 hits. That's kind of the way breeding programs are. They'll release a dozen varieties, maybe 1 or 2 are really good.
Yeah, I mean, and every year something else is coming out. And honestly, what I'm excited for, and hopefully I'll see in my career, is gene editing, right? With CRISPR, the things that we could do with that in an organic setting is endless, right? If we could start breeding and learn how to click off these genes that are affected by a soil disease. In organic farming, that is my biggest concern. It's our biggest problem. Disease. Yeah. Disease is our biggest problem. I mean, and pests are too, right? Ligus. Ligus is a bug that will it feeds off the seeds of a young strawberry. And as it grows and it's missing those seeds, it deforms, and the stores don't want it. Based off the looks, right? Still tastes the same, still sweet, still organic, but we got to have some kind of quality spec, right? Questions, please. Mm-hmm. So here's my opinion on you're right. Brassicas do help suppress a lot, if not all, soil-borne diseases. Now, my thinking on it is, I don't grow broccoli, right? And so let's say we'll do a cover crop of mustard, another brassica. They sell these brassica mixes where there's 3 different types of mustard in there. You go put that out. Well, once it flowers, Ligus loves mustard as a house, as a home. So if that field is anywhere near a strawberry field, they're going to come over here and still eat, still deform fruit. Now, if you think about the fact of how is the disease spread, typically it's through machinery, tractors, discs, rippers, chisels, implements, right? Now, as a vegetable farmer, and I'm friends with a lot of them, and they'll fight me to the day, all night. that in my case, I believe that soil diseases spread more from from vegetable farmers because they are constantly rotating their own ground. A vegetable crop will last anywhere between 30 days and 120 days. They're rotating, rotating, rotating. Talk to any of my friends, they brag about how many turns they can get in a vegetable rotation annually. I'm a 2.8 grower. I'm a 3.2. I'm a 2.9, right? So they're constantly moving that equipment from ranch to ranch to ranch to ranch. Now, even though I disinfect my equipment, I'm still spreading it. We disinfect with a heat treated pressure washer at 800 degrees Fahrenheit. Even use chemicals, we still can't disinfect. Right? We were talking about earlier. I would love to swab a before and swab an after and see if there's any difference in soil-borne diseases on that implement. So hopefully we'll do that once this year and actually see the results. As a conventional grower, I didn't really worry about it because I had the fumigants. And being from Salinas, and the majority of my friends, people that I would talk to every day while I was up there, I was taught when I first came in, strawberry growers are the ones that spread the disease. That's the reason why you guys have to fumigate. That's why we have you as a rotation partner for our crop, is to fumigate the ground. But wait a second, the disease was there before I even got here. So who brought it? Was it me or you?
Know people who rotate with the cruciferous vegetable, collards, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, any of those?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't grow those, but
No.
if you did, if you had in other words, it's got to fit in to your marketing system. Right? Somebody do it assembly and do it on your own. You have to do it, and you have to have market outlets for all of that. Because I think people use it.
I don't know. A lot of people, a lot of people do, and unfortunately, in my industry, it kind of like really south of Salinas and Watsonville, we don't really rotate strawberry fields. It's a lot of monocropping. It's a lot of fumigation, and I'm not here to say whether that's bad or not. But it is better if you rotate your ground with broccoli because maybe you'll use less fumigation, less fumigants.
Steve Quakey's going to talk about all these diseases in strawberries that I'll just mention here, repetition into it. 4 main diseases that are attacking the roots, vascular systems of strawberries. They are Fusarium wilt, Verticillium wilt, Macrophenol leaf rot, and Phytophthora leaf rot. These are the 4 big diseases.
You forgot the 5th.
Fusarium race 2.
Yes.
There are 2 races of Fusarium wilt. Race 1 and race 2. Race 2
very new.
Still isolated to a
Yeah,
few
Oxnard. That was crazy. I never thought in my life that I would see another soil disease like discovered. Nor did I ever think about it, right? But
the reason
how?
That one probably came about is because we have very specific resistance in the host to that particular pathogen. So many of the varieties that are grown are resistant to it. And so whenever you have a situation like that, pathogen will often find a way to get around that resistance, and that's what's happening. Something like macrophenina, it's too many genes involved. You don't really have the resistance develop like you would with a single gene, and that's what happens in this area. But that's a subject of its own.
Yeah.
Other questions for Dr. Rick?
Yes. So one of the things that I do take pride in, at least in my friend group, is I was the first one in my group of friends, that I started releasing Prisimilis via drone 100%. So Prisimilis is the predatory mite to the two-spot mite that will suck the life out of a plant. They're not native to California. Californicus is, but they don't really seem to find their way to the strawberry field. So that's like one advancement. You know, the bugback, that was an advancement that happened like in the 90s, and we keep evolving it, making it better and better and better. I recently just saw a 4-bed bug vac with UVC lights on it. So they're sucking up ligas and treating powdery mildew and botrytis with the UVC lights through what's the trick? There you go, Trick Robotics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, things like that definitely help. Worked with a startup 2 or 3 years ago with robotic harvesting. That's actually something I wanted to touch on. Is It's a great idea, right? But one thing that they didn't want to do was slow down, right? And as people, we don't ever want to go slow. We want to go fast. We want instant gratification, always. And what I noticed watching it, studying it, was that the sensors were scanning in kind of a triangle pattern, just going across the bed looking for red fruit. Sometimes it would see it, sometimes it wouldn't. To be honest, it missed about 80% of the fruit that it was scanning. So I asked then, well, what if you doubled back? Because once you from your starting point, you get to point A, you go back to point A. Go point A to point B, back to point A, back to point B. So you're going to scan it 3-4 times. Yes, well, then we would slow it down. So, well, that's fine. That just means I need to buy more robots. And if you're in the robot selling business and I'm buying more robots, isn't that better for you? Your business model and your investors, right? Because you're never going to pick from a robotic standpoint, you will never pick as fast as a human will be able to pick. Today, I mean, in peak season, when the production is going crazy, and we're picking 130,000 boxes of strawberries a week or more. The average pickers in my field is doing about 180 to 230 boxes a day. At $3 a box is what they're getting paid. I mean, I am signing checks, after taxes, $1,200, $1,500. I saw a $2,000 check last year for the first time for 1 week, 5 days, 40 hours. And I can guarantee you they didn't go to college, they didn't go to high school, they probably didn't even go to junior high. But they know how to pick strawberries and they pick it well. And those, I mean, you can make some really good money as a harvester.
How close was that to the robot?
Oh my gosh, not even close. I mean, I think their goal was to do like a box every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes, something like that. It was a couple of years ago.
Have any of you seen robotic strawberry harvesting? You can see videos of it online. Really fascinating thing to see. The machinery is really phenomenal.
Yeah, no, the engineering behind it's ridiculous. Yeah.
They've come so far, but they're still not close enough to what a human can do that it's become a viable factor.
Yeah. Well, and I think the majority of the problem of why it's really not taking off now is from an investment standpoint, right? As an investor, you want a return on your money. And if you won't go and park, let's just say $1 million, how long are you going to let that million sit for? Eventually, that startup's going to come ask you for another mill and another. Eventually, you're going to say, I'm done. And I've already given you $5 million. Gerald, I'm sorry. You're done. Go find it somewhere else. So that's exactly what happened with the startup that I was working with. So they had to pivot and they went to another good idea that I totally believe in is a pack line. And they came out with a good automated pack line that at that time, I don't know if they've reduced the amount of people working the pack line physically today, but at that time, I want to say it was about like 10 or 12 people on the pack line. And they were probably, I think they were just really like closing clamshells and building pallets.
So that you know, packing lines don't exist in Scotland.
No, it's too
Everything is
soft.
field pack.
Yeah.
You touch once, and you put it in the clamshell shut, go onto a tray, the tray goes onto a pallet. It never sees pans again, it goes into a cooler. What Parker is describing is because of the robotic harvesting, robots don't pack the clamshell. They pick the fruit and then they just put them in a big box, loose. Then you gotta take that loose tray of berries
Somewhere else.
and then pack them. So they built a little packing line with a fruit roll, and you gotta cool them first. If they're too warm, they soft and they'll bruise.
Yeah.
So they have this little packing line, and so you can do these things, but for all intents and purposes in this industry, they are not packed in a packing line.
Yeah.
That's a very expensive proposition. You've got to do it inside of a cooler.
Yep.
So anyway, there's been a couple people play around with the idea. But I think that, what I'm trying to comment on here is how dynamic the industry is. How many things are always looking at new technologies and trying it out to see if it will improve their operations. And robotic harvesting is one of those. I see. So the human could be
Controlling.
in a cubicle somewhere with goggles on, looking at what the robot sees, and then telling you what to do. I
Yeah.
love it. But
No, I mean,
see anybody do it.
no one's,
That works.
yeah, no, I mean, but that's the hard truth of any industry at some point, is innovation is driven by money. And, in a lot of cases, money is not endless, which is one of the issues with farming in itself, right? We were talking earlier, back in 1970, the cost to grow 1 acre of strawberries for all your inputs, taking care of it, leasing the land that it was farmed on was $5,000 an acre. The fumigation, everything. Not to harvest it, but just your non-harvest cost. Protect it and keep it going. $5,000 an acre. Today, conventionally, you're around $35,000, $36,000. So as time keeps going, costs keep rising. We all know that inflation, average, lifetime is about 3%, 3.3%. Even with COVID, happening where it rose to 6-8%, depending on what state you're in, right? I think here was 8%, which is why we had to raise the minimum wage to $16, even though it was supposed to stop at 15 when we all voted on it about 10 years ago, right? So through innovation, I believe, and AI believes it too, that we can eventually, it won't happen in my generation. We're not that, not that much older than you guys. So maybe it takes 2 more generations. Because that's the problem right now, is that a lot of guys say, well, I can buy this automated weeder, right? Because that's a huge thing right now. And it's actually one thing that I did do when I took a little sabbatical from the family business, is I started my own automated weeding company. And it was a robot attached to a tractor that would weed vegetable fields, take them out mechanically. There was a lot that went into it, but it worked. Each machine was about $180,000. I bought 2 of those, took out another loan for a third that did not 1 bed, but it did 3. That was about like $350,000. Then COVID hit, like literally COVID hit. And what I didn't realize is the Salinas Valley was, at that time, I want to say it was like 65% food, all the vegetables that were grown in the Salinas Valley, 65% of them at the most went to food service. So when they shut down all the restaurants, every vegetable grower was disking under crops. And my business got shut down and I came back home. But a lot of the complaint was, well, this machine costs so much. When is it going to start saving me money? Right. So I think it's going to take multiple iterations of the technology for it to eventually hit us. Right. I'm a big proponent for substrate farming. Am I doing it right now? No, I am not. Because for just the infrastructure alone, at a minimum investment to do it correctly, I'm looking about $135,000 an acre. And when I want to do 100 acres of it, I have a lot of money. But what would I get out of it? Well, I'm growing it now in an organic sourced cocoa coir, so no more soil diseases. I'm going to use less water, because instead of running a drip irrigation system for, say, 2 to 2.5 hours, that's rated at 800 gallons a minute, my irrigation sets go down to literally 50 seconds to maybe a minute, but 20 times a day. Turns itself on, turns itself off, and keeps going through every different set to each separate valve. I'm reducing my labor costs. If you look at it from an investment standpoint, at $125,000 an acre, or $135,000, let's say, and you spread that out, you amortize that loan over 10 years, that's $13,500. That is less than what I spend every year to get a field prepped and ready. So my argument to any bank is, well, yes, I'm asking for a lot of money, but over 10 years, it's cheaper. It will be more profitable through technology, through innovation. We just need the right partner to believe in us to do it. And
There are
people that are.
I want to make sure we're not substrate farming.
Yeah.
Right? Strawberries in a lot of different ways. One of them is with fall. So it's some inorganic substrate or organic substrate, coconut fibers, and manipulate, et cetera, et cetera. But you can grow strawberries this way under plastic tunnels. You can stand upright, pick them, you can irrigate them very precisely. There's a lot of advantages to it, but disadvantages to the cost. And we do have a few hundred acres of it, right? And it's.
Oh, way less than that. I want.
feed running and-
Oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
400 acres.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
It's
Abraham, no,
small.
he's pretty big. I want to say he's over 300 acres. He's pretty big. Good grower.
Well, anyway,
Yeah. But
this is another exciting area that could change from being a few hundred acres to a massive number of acres. Total acres in California for strawberries is 42,000 acres right now.
yeah.
And so if you figure how much of that is substrate, it's a tiny proportion.
Mhm.
But people know how to do it. In Europe, this is the way they farm strawberries.
Oh yeah.
In the UK, it's 100% farmed this way. All over
Australia.
London, Northern Europe, it's
Australia, Tasmania, 100%. Africa, Morocco,
a big change there.
China. That's the biggest thing right now is China. China's soil couldn't support strawberries, but the amount of hydroponic substrate production in China is like 100%. I don't think anyone's growing strawberries in soil in China right now, and that's a huge emerging market.
We need to wrap up. Because this is simply longer than a normal year. And I took the half hour of explaining this course. Appreciate the question and answers. Any parting comments from me and you or from the speaker?
Yes. All right. So I don't know if you heard me say the word simple. It's the one thing that I live by. Does anyone know what the acronym KISS stands for? What? There you go. I think we overcomplicate everything every day. Between relationships, between work, school, nothing is that complicated. So if you take anything from my time up here, just remember, keep it simple. That's the answer to most of your everyday problems. Keep it simple. Take notes. Remember to look back. And you will, as long as you do that, you will be successful in any industry, wherever you guys decide to go. That's all I got to say.
All right.